Okay, today we are going to talk about Primavera 6, P6, and how you initially start a project. So I'm going to go back up here to the Enterprise. Actually, we're not going to edit the Enterprise. Hold on to that. We're going to close this window. And we're going to go back to Enterprise Projects. Here we go. Now, the key in utilizing P6, one of the things that makes it very different from any other scheduling software is that it is a true database. Microsoft Project is not. Microsoft Project is basically an Excel spreadsheet that allows you to search per those cells. But Primavera is written by Oracle and has an actual database. Now, for those of you who've not used many scheduling products before, this is a very important distinction because the whole workability of a schedule, its value, is determined from its ability to pull data or mine data out of the schedule to do what-if analysis. So the only reason I bring this up is that before you can't just go into P6 and just start creating a schedule. It doesn't work. You have to set up your database of what code you think you're going to use, set up your calendars. You have to do the background work, in other words, set up the infrastructure for the schedule first before you can then create a schedule. So everything that you do on that broad global basis is called enterprise as opposed to project. So it's very important to get that distinction. Enterprise deals with the bigger picture, project deals with the more microscopic picture. So going from here, we're going to click on Enterprise, and you notice that there are multiple options that you have in Enterprise. There's resources, roles, your organizational breakdown structure, your resource codes, activity codes, that's going to be a very important one, and calendars. So let's go in initially and let's set up the calendar. Now you notice up here, again, everything is start at the big end, global, which is similar to your enterprise. In other words, it crosses multiple projects. Down to a resource calendar, you can actually set up a calendar for a specific resource. Let's say Fred only works 3 8-hour shifts a week. Well, you could go in and create a calendar for Fred that only works those hours and then assign that resource to certain tasks, and that's the way P6 will calculate all of Fred's activities. Or you can set up a specific project calendar. Now, if you set it up as a project, the problem is the only people that will be able to see that calendar is that project. So oftentimes I like to set up calendars as global and then go select a specific calendar for a project. Now notice it says here default, which means that the default calendar for every project we start is going to be a standard 5-day work week. Well, let's go take a look at what it's got shown here to make sure that that's going to meet our needs. So in order to go in and see it, we click Modify. Notice it shows Saturday and Sunday as non-working. They're grayed out, non-working. Okay, so we're going to come over here and we're going to scroll down. June seems to be fine, but wait a minute, there's a problem. What about Memorial Day? So I'm going to click on that, and I am going to show this as a non-work day. Notice it now grays that out. So we're not going to work on Memorial Day. So now I'm going to go check for all the other holidays. Notice it shows 4th of July as a work day. So I'm going to show non-work day. And then I'm going to come in August, and Labor Day, it's still showing as a work day. These guys don't believe in taking vacations. It also shows Thanksgiving week as working, so I'm going to block out that Thursday and Friday, and then I'm going to go to December, and these people are definitely affiliated with Ebenezer Scrooge because they believe in working on Christmas Day. So So we know we're going to go beyond, on this particular example, December. So I'm going to continue on, and we're not going to work New Year's Day. And we're going to keep going. Keep going. And now we are back again to, sorry, push the wrong button. So as soon as it's grayed out, you know that you've got it set up. We can go over here and see. We can set the calendar of 8 hours a day, which we're going to leave that as it is. And time periods, 40-hour week, 172 hours a month, 2,000 hours a year. Okay, at 8 hours a day. So we're good with that. So I'm going to click OK. So now it has changed. If we were to go in and look at this, notice it's made the changes that I requested. So we're good with it. So this is going to be our default calendar going forward. Okay. So we've taken care of that one issue. So now we're going to close this. Now we're going to go to Enterprise, and we're going to look at Resources. So what you want to do is you want to come in here, and this says Current Project. Notice the display is Current Project Resources. Well, we want to see all the resources to make sure that we set them up correctly. So we're going to say All Resources. Show us all resources. Well, we don't have any. So let's say we're going to do a project, and we know that we're going to have several resources to draw upon. So we're going to come over here and click this little icon that looks like a person. Click on it. Okay. It would take us to this window. So now we want to hit Add Resources, and notice over here on the right side there are icons. These icons always relate to this particular screen that you have up on the board. These icons will take you to different screens. So if I click on this for activities, it's going to take me to the activities in whatever schedule I'm in. If I want to click on this, it's going to take me to resource assignments. If I want to click on this, it's going to take me to the tracking schedule view, and this is going to take me to resources. Okay, so I'm going to come over here, and let's say it's all resources. So over here is, again, on the right side is specific to whatever screen you're in, and on the left side takes you to different screens within that project. Now notice it says that we are in the Cougar Place project. Alright, well, I'm going to go back to projects up here on this tab. I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on my Enterprise, because actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this project. So I right click, and evidently it won't let me close it. Okay. Notice the folder is half open as opposed to closed, so that means it's an open project. So I'm going to go back and click on Enterprise. I'm going to click on Resources, and I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to click the Add button. That's going to ask me for an ID number. This is a very short, like a code number, like an accounting code. So I'm going to type in here PM. Okay, and then I'm going to type in the word Project Manager. I'm going to hit Next, and it's labor or non-labor or material. This is where you could put in its unit price per hour. 8 hours a day it gives you default. That's the maximum number of hours the PM can work. You can even type in contact information. Okay. And notice we don't have roles set up. Okay. So let's go back and let's think about this for a minute. Really, your role is your project manager. So we're going to hit Assign, and it's asking again for current. We're going to show all. There are none. So we can't assign a role. It won't let you do it on the fly. So that's why setting this up in the very beginning is so important. So I'm going to hit Finish just so I can do this. I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to change resource ID to LKC. And I'm going to type in Lana K Coble, and it's labor, okay? But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my roles, my enterprise roles. Here we go, enterprise roles, all roles, and I'm going to add PM Project Manager. Okay. So now I can come in here, and now I can select. Now notice I double clicked here. I can double click here, and boom, there it is. Okay. So a role in this particular case is more of a functional role versus the resource, which is the name of the person. Okay. So we could come in here and add under roles, we could make one that says field engineer, FE. Okay. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add someone. Now notice it automatically put that role subordinate to the PM, to the person above that. So what we're going to do is we're going to type in, we're going to say it's going to be Chris Crawford. Okay. He's labor. Here, and we're going to assign the role name of field engineer. It's his primary role. Notice it's putting his proficiency in there, which is additional information. Notice it's asking, do we want to select an existing calendar or create a new personal calendar for this resource? Okay, well, we're going to say the standard work week. If we wanted to check a different one, we'd click here, modify it, name it, but we're not. Next, autocomplete, next, hit finish, and now we have Chris Crawford, who reports to LKC. Well, what happens, and let's see how this works. Chart view, this is kind of cool. Okay. You can come here and it'll give you an organizational chart. Alright, we don't necessarily want to do that. We want to go back to the table view and let's see, copy. Here we go. If we do not want this person to report directly to this one, we highlight that person and you click on your move left button, and now that person is equal to. Did you see that? Now notice it's now giving you other options to either move Chris above or back to the right. So we're going to go back to the right. So let's say we're now going to add another person in here, and we're going to make it NE, Neil Eldon, labor. Okay, we don't have a role for him yet, so we're just going to keep on going. Next, we're going to keep him on the deal. Finish. Alright, but Neil is over everyone, so what we're going to do is we're going to move him over equal, and then we're going to move him up. And then this one is then going to go there, and we're going to come back to enterprise roles, and we're going to add a role, and we're going to call it PE, and it's going to be project executive. So now we can come here and add Neil as project executive. So we've completed one aspect of setting up the enterprise. Alright, the next most important aspect you need to set up in enterprise is the activity codes. And activity codes are similar to a work breakdown structure but they're not the same. Activity codes are, I'm going to call it the layman's term on how to sort and break down a project into smaller components. Work breakdown structure, and I'll show you in just a little bit. Work breakdown structure, as you build a schedule, will automatically prepare, and it will do it in terms of site work, structure, foundation, exterior skin, those major components that are generally accepted in the construction industry. Activity codes are more specific to a project. So let's say that you've got a building and you're going to break it down into multiple components. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. Let me go pull one up. Let's see. Actually, it's not in here. Let's go here. And let's go here. Okay, so in this particular example, notice we have building A, building B, and building C. Okay? The work breakdown structure is not automatically going to break it down into the separate buildings. And if you notice on this diagram, it identifies each building area, and it also shows which way the exterior skin is going to be placed on the buildings. And this is important because it determines how quickly you can get inside and do the work. So in this particular case, an activity code would be what building area is there, because the project team will begin to refer to building A, B, and C in their weekly meetings. So an activity code would be the building area for this particular project. This is very important that when you do your planning on a project, and by planning I mean the effort, the strategic review of the project and how you're going to approach the project before you start scheduling that job, that you know how you're going to attack the project, how you're going to go about building the project, so that you can determine what these activity codes are going to be. And what's important about this, I'm going to go back to the statement I made about this being a true database. The importance of a schedule is that it's not static. It does not remain the same. It will change. There will be hiccups in your plan. You will have to adjust your strategy on how you're going to build a project. And so you need to be able to break the building down into smaller components so that when those changes occur, you have a manageable way to modify the schedule. That's where activity codes come into play. So with this being shown here, I'm going to minimize this, and we're going to go back to the schedule, and we're going to go to Enterprise, and we're going to go to Activity Codes. Now notice I already had some set up, and that was for a different project that I was working on. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to leave it at Global, and I'm going to say, let's see all of them. Oh look, here's all the activity codes that have been set up. But none of these are going to apply to what I'm doing. So I'm going to hit the Add button, and I'm going to call this Area. And I'm going to call this Building Area. Okay. I'm going to probably also come in and add an activity code called Component. C-O-M-P, Component. I'll call it Building Component. Okay. So if I want to go set up and see the actual, now these are the code values, these are the code descriptions. If I wanted to see the Excuse me. In the wrong place. Okay. If I wanted to see the activity codes, all right, we're going to go here. Oh, I made a mistake. This is a value. Notice it says code value. So you do not want to input it here. So we're going to delete these because these are the values. Remember, you learn best by your mistakes. These are the value for this particular activity code. Okay? So this is where the activity codes reside, and these are the values. So we need to get here, highlight up here, and we need to hit modify. And these are the activity codes. So we're going to add, and we're going to make this building area, and then we're going to add another one, and we're going to call it building component. Okay, notice these are now in the global code definitions. So we're going to close. Now I can select, here's the activity code, now I can come in and put in some values. So in this particular case, a building component might be curtain wall. Glass curtain wall. So we're just going to call it CURTWL. Glass curtain wall. Another value to a building component would be masonry. Okay. I think I spelled that right. Another component would be roof. Okay. Another component would be foundation. Another component would be steel structure. Okay, so there are some values now that relate to our specific project for building component. Now let's go back to the building area, and we're going to add the values to this. So it would be area A. Remember our diagram. Let's go back to here. We've got building A, area B, and area C. Okay. So we're going to add another one. Area B. And area C. Okay, so now we've gotten some codes that will relate to our project. So we can close out of here. Okay. So let's go back to Enterprise. We had calendars. We've done the calendars. We've dealt with activity codes. We've dealt with roles and resources. And we've dealt with these major components. Okay. So we're pretty good. Don't worry about these other things down here. These are the primary elements that you need to set up before you begin the project. Okay. So now we are ready to start building a project. Okay. The first thing that you're going to do is you have to actually create a place where you're going to file it. And notice this says your enterprise project structure. I'm going to show you again where I got this. I went to Enterprise and Enterprise project structure. I don't know why they use a pyramid. I guess they were Egyptian, I don't know. But the point is that this is where you create your filing cabinet per se for all of your future projects. So we're going to add here, and we're going to call it UH 3331. Actually, we're going to make it CNST 3331. Okay, so now we've set up a project structure, and you'll see why this is important, because you've got to have a place when you create a new project. So I'm going to close this now. I'm going to go back up here, and I'm going to go to the Projects tab. Now notice, here is your project structure. So we are back at the main window where you create all the major projects. Now this is a really cool feature in P6. This actually, you can actually show all the projects that you've got in here, and it will give you the start, finish date, the data date, and how you're tracking. So if I were to come in here and open this project too, and let's go back to projects. Let's go back to projects. Okay, and you see here your summary bar. It should tell you, keep going, it should open it up to show you where it's finishing, which is the 18th of June of 2013. So you can get an at a glance of all your different projects that you're working on. This is particularly important if this is all what you do is to be a full-time scheduler. Okay, so we're going to come in here, we're going to highlight this, and we're going to go File, New, and we're going to select, we're going to click on, if anytime you see the little three dots, that gives you a drop down button. We're going to select this enterprise place to file our new project. We're going to call it Video, and we're going to call it Video P6, how to schedule a project plan. We're going to go to next. This is where you can tell what the plan start date is. Okay, well, we're not going to pick this close of a date. We're going to come in and let's pick the first day of class, which is the 27th, and let's say we have to finish by, let's go for the class itself. And I believe finals are sometime this week, so we're going to say the 14th of December. Next, who's the responsible manager? Oh, we don't have, under organizational breakdown structure, we don't have a responsible manager, so we can't fill this in right now, so it's going to automatically go to the enterprise, meaning that whoever controls the enterprise function, which is typically your master scheduler, that's the person that would control it. Rate type, price per unit, we're good with that. And we're going to hit finish, and notice we now have a new project. Okay? Now, what's really cool about this is in P6, everything, whether it's a task, at the enterprise level you see the projects. When you go to the project level, you'll see the activities. In both cases, you'll have these drop-down areas here, which will show you the facts about that particular project. Okay? So if you had a website that you've loaded it on, if it's an active job, or you could tell it it's inactive or planned. Okay? But we're going to say active. You can indicate notes in it. You can put a budget log, a spending plan. Okay? Budget summary. I mean, this has got more data than most people will probably ever use. Okay? This has got a place to assign specific project codes, which we didn't set any up, which I'm not so much concerned with that today. It's the same concept as the other. Under defaults, this tells you how each ID is going to be generated. So it's going to be task dependent, which is important. Every activity will start with the letter A, and it will start with 1,000, and it will go in 10 increments. Well, let's say we want to change that. Let's say we want to go C, NST, okay? And let's say we want to start at 50, and let's say we want to go in increments of 5. So now, once this is clicked, every time you add a new activity, the first one will start at CNST 50, and it'll be in every 5 increments. Okay? We're going to go to Resources, Settings. We're telling it to summarize to a WBS level of 2. Let's go 3 just for grins. In the WBS tree, it's going to separate by dot. Fiscal year begins in January. Okay. We've got total float is less than or equal to 0, or we could tell it the longest path. Okay. Let's go the longest path in this particular instance. And then calculations. It tells you how it's going to calculate things. So now we have set up the criteria for this particular project. So now we are actually ready to start building our schedule. Only until you've done all these things can you then go create a schedule, because you will get frustrated. You'll have to keep going back and forth. And as I've talked about in class, everything about scheduling is having a specific method, the way you do things, and you stick to that method each and every time. Okay, so I'm going to give you a sample job to set up, and I want you to, for your homework assignment, to create that project. Okay, I'll give you that information through Blackboard. We're signing off for today. This was the lesson on how to set up your enterprise so that you can actually create a schedule.